Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So before we move on with the matter at hand today, I wanted to quickly address the video I released at midnight, and that's talking about the Eagle Bearer and the discovery mode for the raid. So I guess I wasn't really clear on my position. I personally don't think we need the discover mode, and I think that the matchmaking should be added to the regular raid. However, your position is, that's fine. I really enjoyed that. I welcome all the interactions on the, on the channel. And so I just wanted to kind of put that out there so that people knew where I stood on the entire matter, because the main raid is what's going to drop you the Eagle Bearer. Okay. And that's why I think people are playing the raid itself. So adding the discovery mode, even though it seems like it's going to, make the process for preparing for the raid better, I just don't see it as necessary, because there are a lot of tutorials on YouTube on how to do the raid on console, on PC. So adding the discovery mode is quite redundant now. Now, if they had released the discovery mode when the raid came out, it would have been the best possible thing that they could have done. I just feel like they're late to the party. But that aside, that's what I just wanted to add there. Let's look at something that's been brewing in the community for the past few minutes. I hope this video goes up before the state of the game. And the developers are, pretty much responding to concerns of nerfing the P416. So I don't know if you guys know Frederick Thylander. He's the weapons guy in the Division 2. And there's just been talk about the P416 being an outlier. And he has confirmed, before we move further, that there will be no nerf to the P416. But that is just for now anyways. So one of the things that is really interesting in the conversation is just pretty much the approach that the development team takes towards balancing. And he made a statement here on Twitter responding to somebody. Somebody said, please don't nerf the P416, buff the other weapons up to it. And by buff, I mean not like 1.6, ha ha ha. And he responded and said this. He said, so buff every single weapon in the game, adjust the kill times accordingly in both OVE, he meant to write PvE, and PvP. Rebalance the raid and heroic to avoid nerfing one gun slightly. Roger that. So I think he's being sarcastic here. I think he's pretty much saying you're asking us to take on a mountain of a task rather than take on a small hit to one weapon and then move on. But the problem with that statement is this is the same approach they've taken in the Division game over and over again. Instead of making gradual progress towards the mountain of the task, which I understand that they have to go back and look at other weapons and look at other things. They just want to take a nuclear decision to take out one, two, or few items, and then in essence tilt the entire game is always what you see whenever they make these decisions. It's like there are these consequences that we, the player base who actually play the game, we get to experience the results of little so-called tweaks or balances or adjustments, aka nerfs, as this. Because think about it, the P416 right now is one of the better assault rifles in the game. If you look at the CTAR, look at the F200, look at the MK16, these weapons are okay, but they don't really compare. And when you look at the AR class, that's just where you need to make some of the changes to make other assault rifles viable. That's all. If you nerf the P416, you tilt the meta straight towards LMGs, because SMGs right now are in a sense lacking because of all the so-called nerfs that they made. So they changed the clutch approach. They changed some of the things with the SMGs. They changed some of the healing skills because of the WIDS build, but then it just pushed everybody to the LMG meta and to the assault rifle meta. And then now you have shotguns, which they're going to discuss, but then if they nerf the assault rifles, well, then it pushes everybody to the assault rifle, the LMG meta. And then they even went ahead and said, well, the MK17, remember that they touched the MK17, they said, oh, its rate of fire is too fast, so they tweaked the rate of fire, then they tweaked the damage, and then everybody runs straight to another weapon class, and the whole meta is shifted. Build diversity is gone. Even the small little bullet damage the build diversity that we have has disappeared. So I feel like they're not monitoring their game, they're not playing it. And so it just makes really no sense when these decisions come up, and I just don't understand. I hate to be the guy that's hammering down on developers that are trying to do their jobs, because their dads like me. This is their work, and for it to get heavily criticized is really rough. But the community is actually asking for something, and we are asking from the area of experience, and I can understand. He did say and mention that, this is an outlier. He says the P416 is an outlier. It has a different DPS because it was a large game to ship, and sometimes we humans make mistakes. Agreed. I 100% agree. I've made hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos, and I have made hundreds of mistakes. But at the same time, when my community here on YouTube says, hey, Mr. Gamey Daddy channel, you need to start looking at things this way, I have to take those things into consideration. And I think Massive has that same obligation to start taking those things into consideration. It's widely used. The P416 is widely used, highly sought for, because it's the better assault rifle. So what do? You take that assault rifle in its assault rifle class and work on the other assault rifles to be on par. It's just the way it is. If you look at the LMG class right now, even though people may say the LMGs are better, it's pretty much just the M60 that a lot of people use. And so if you wanted to say the P416 is an outlier, well, that's not the truth, actually. It's the M60 that is the outlier. And so just taking these things one by one, they're usually out of context and will eventually cause for the game to continue to tilt in all kinds of silly ways. So please, away and enough with all this nonsense. We've supported your game for so long, dear Massive, and the least that you can do is honor your community by doing the hard work. Forget that it's not going to be, it doesn't seem like it's too difficult. Write an algorithm that's going to calculate the DPS output of the P416 compared to others. You have programmers there all over the place. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a mathematician, but there is a clear solution here. And it's a solution we've been crying out for since the Division 1. So the fact that people would even have to respond this way shows you the heartfelt problem and the heartfelt pain in the community. I'm using words like pain, and people are thinking, oh my gosh, over a video game? Oh yes, over a video game, because many of us spent time. You cannot is the one asset that you cannot replace. You can replace a stupid video game. You can replace a weapon, but you cannot replace the time that you spent honing, fine-tuning, crafting, or recalibrating that weapon to fit and suit what you needed it to be. And so now there's this talk, and everybody in the community is losing their minds. And so I bet you if there's a state of the game today, or if this video comes out before or after state of the game, I don't know how fast my computer will render, the state of the game is going to hear from the community about this nerf, because it was always one little nerf. Remember when they said, oh, well, World Tier 5, we're going to release it, and Tidal Basin, but we're going to make these few nerfs. And then they just went ahead and just obliterated everything that was so good about the game because they thought it was too overpowered. What kind of game does not want players to feel powerful when they continue to advance? I don't know any game. You play any game. You play the best-selling games that came out in 2018, and even some of the best-selling games that came out in 2019. And power, progression is the big theme, except the Division. They give you this sense of this so-called power progression illusion, and then at the end of the day, everything's taken away from you for you just to go back and start again. If you all think that's what increases playtime, I would just say that's what increases frustration. And also, you will sell future games. I'm reminding whoever's listening to this, by the time Massive continues down this path, you would have tarnished your reputation to sell future games. Give the community what they want. They're the ones that are going to buy your next game, regardless of what it is. You give them what they want, they're happy, they'll shell out the $60, $70, $80, $120 if that's what you're going to be selling the next game for. You take away the things that make the game fun, you take away your customers' need to patronize you. Plus, the gaming scene is much more competitive right now. Think about Cyberpunk, think about Borderlands, think about other games that are going to take a huge chunk of this player base away when you make these decisions. Don't make these decisions in a vacuum. Don't say things like the P416 is an outlier. Go take the MK16 and buff it and then make it even powerful. If you really want to nerf the P416, just take the other assault rifles and just buff them. And then make this P416 like stupid and everyone's like, oh crap, my P416 can't do anything. But the MK16 looks good now. And then have people chasing after the stupid MK16 and have people chasing after the CTAR and the F200 because we have to crush them all over the place. Whew. All right. I don't want to get a hernia. I'm going to end this video now. Peace.